Hey guys, how's it going? Here's a little update on what's going on. Swapping out the inner tie rod ends and the rack and pinion bushings. Got the polyurethane set over here. The new inner tie rod ends with dust boots. Give you guys a heads up, if you're running manual rack, there is a difference between them. One's fat, one's skinny. If you're running power steering, they're both this size, and it doesn't matter if it's S4 or S5. It's pretty much what I got to swap out. You can see on this one, that one's done. There's supposed to be some resistance to it. This one's on its way out. These were my modified bushings that I had to kind of modify because that one actually had a smaller clamp because I went from power steering to manual, so I had to change that clamp. Didn't have the bushing, so I had to modify a bushing to actually work out pieces of rubber. The OEM one is trashed. I have no idea where it is. Oh, there it is. It's pretty much done. And give you guys a little step process how to do this because I don't think anyone's really shown a video on it. You undo your wheels, undo your heat shield if you still have it. It's 10 mils. They run along right here. You got 3 right along there, 3 against the subframe, and 4 across right here. That heat shield's removed. And then you got to remove your sway bar, which would be 2 bolts right up in there, 12 mils, another 2 12 mils over there, or 14, depends on which bolts you have on it. I have 14, I believe they're 12s. Then you kind of center it up. You got to undo the bolt all the way up inside there from the actual steering rack, from the actual steering to the steering rack. Line it up before you take it off. Get a good measurement of where the center is on mine. The center is going to be about right there. This is like a good little guide to go off of. Either you measure from here to here, or you just actually count the teeth if your teeth are exposed on yours. Where that's going to be the center of mine. And then once you remove the sway bar and you have everything all centered up, then you just undo the 14 mil bolts right here, which will be a 14 mil bolt on the bottom, but then you need a wrench for the top because the top bolts aren't actually welded to the plate. But then on the fatter one, those bolts are actually welded to the plate. Once you undo all that, you undo that bolt for that one, you undo those, and you get everything all the way. You just drop the sway bar and you pick this up and then push it forward and it comes right out of there. Eventually I'm going to paint the A-arms gold to match the rear when I get the lower ball joint. This is going to get painted silver. And then my big old beefy aftermarket sway bar there is going to get painted red. But it's a little update on what's going on. You kind of see how I modified my oil cooler. I dropped it down an inch and I pulled it forward 2 inches. Clear back behind the AC condenser because I was actually running AC in this car and it was too close to that. And factory, they actually had a little shield right against the AC condenser right there. I removed that shield to where more air goes through the AC condenser, making the AC colder, and more air is able to make it to the radiator. And then when I did that, it allowed more air to go through, but since there was nothing blocking the oil cooler is actually heating up all that. So that's why I pulled the oil cooler down and forward, made little brackets, made a heat shield up on top that directs the air to force it into the oil cooler. And if it can't go in through the oil cooler, it'll go over the top to still be able to cool everything up top. And that actual heat shield over there, when this is mounted up, it actually fits flush against this to where air is forced to actually go either through the oil cooler, through up inside here, if not completely over, and then hit all that. I noticed just by doing this, I got a dramatic temperature drop in coolant and oil, and my AC is actually cooler. So like that's a real good big modification if you want to do it. Plus I'm running steel braided oil cooler lines. Eventually I'm going to run a dual oil cooler setup. I'm going to have it set up to where it's going to come out of there, go straight into the top just like that. This return right here is actually going to come up, go up over, and then the other oil cooler is actually going to be sitting right up inside here, tilted sideways, pretty much like how that one is at an angle. And then it's going to go into it, and then the return coming out of that oil cooler is going to go all the way back to the engine like how that one is. So I'll have a dual oil cooler set up. It'll hit this one first, which will pretty much absorb most of the heat, and then it'll go to the other one up front. And the main reason why I want to do that, I don't want all the hot oil going up to the first one, because then that will make all this air hot going past all the rest of the cooling system. So I'd rather have it hit the hottest, I'd rather have the hot oil hit this one first, get pretty much majority cooled down, then go into this one. This one's going to cool it the rest of the way down, but yet it's not going to make the air coming out of it so much hotter that's going to make all this now heat up. That's the whole idea of running it that way. Should work. I have the oil cooler, I have everything. I just need to get some actual steel braided line. I got 3 feet of it, which is enough to run from this bottom fitting from this oil cooler to the back of the engine. I was going to actually run this one just like that, leave that one in there, take this one, cut it, shorten it, and flip it and have it go back. So I actually do have everything, but this is old steel braided line. You can tell the fittings are already starting to give out, so I want to get all new fittings and all new steel braided line. I have 3 90s and 145, so I just need 2 more 90s, or I can do 2 banjo bolts with 2 45s. I might do the banjo bolts because they'll be thinner and slimmer. It'll actually clear up inside here better. That's a little update of what's going on. Oh, and also I'm replacing that rear seal on the actual differential. I got to replace this seal on the back of the transmission to the drive line. It's leaking. The rear main seal leaks every now and again, and the driver side on the rear differential just started leaking. So those are seals that are going to be replaced eventually, and I'll have a video up on those. Those are cheap. I'm going to replace them and use them for now, but eventually I'm going to do a Turbo 2 transmission inside here, still running the NA engine, still running the NA bell housing, or not bell housing, NA flywheel, NA pressure plate, but I'm just going to run a Ford Fusion that's a 23 tooth, the same diameter spline as the Turbo 2 transmission, but yet the clutch disc is the same size as the NA flywheel and pressure plate as the NA is. So I'm going to be able to put a Turbo 2 transmission inside here. I already got a beefy dry shaft, so I'm just going to get a new yoke on it, so I still have my 800 horsepower capable dry shaft. And then later on down the road, I'm probably just going to swap out the third member on the inside, because the only thing that actually changes from Turbo 2 and NA for the rear diff is just the actual spline count from the actual diff to the CV axles. It goes from like a 32 spline to like a 38 spline. Other than that, everything else is identical. So I'm just going to get the inner third member and the CV axles and still be able to run all this, so I don't have to do a new flange on the back of my drive shaft. I'll be able to beef it up, still keep it, still run a Turbo 2 tranny. I'm going to get an Exedi 11-pound flywheel, an Exedi stage 2 clutch disc sprung, and then I'm going to get a freaking, I believe it's a Clutch Masters stage 3 2,500 pound pressure force pressure plate. I'm going to run all that in this. I'll have videos on all that when it's all coming together. Let's give you guys a little general look at what underneath looks like. It's actually pretty clean. With all the undercoating is beat up, but it's clean. That looks all pretty. That's just a little update of what's going on. If you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good day.